Top 5 Best presents Couple warned not to adopt girl but didn't listen. They'll never be the same. To make your day just a little bit brighter, subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell to be inspired by more optimistic stories like these every day. One of the more tragically marginalized group in society is foster children. The fact there is even a single foster child somewhere in this world is tragic in itself, but oftentimes these unfortunate children can spend years in the foster care system. We often hear about the stories with happy endings, but all too often there are children who have never been welcomed into a proper family. That is not to discredit foster home organizations. Frankly, these places are often sorely underfunded, but heroically do their best to ensure that those children lead happy and comfortable lives. But even these places realize that there is nothing quite like having a family, which is why their goal is to find their children a home rather than keep them there. They do a remarkable job in many cases, but on occasion, some encounter a child they believe should not or cannot be adopted. The reasons for this can vary, but oftentimes it's because of some major behavioral issues the child may be facing. It's a controversial subject, as a foster home encouraging potential parents not to adopt a child seems to be antithesis for their purpose. But some of these places believe that they have justified reasons for their actions. They believe that they are sparing decent people from having a very difficult time trying to raise a difficult and unruly child. But perhaps it would be better to allow foster parents to make that decision for themselves. One couple seem to think so. Bernie and Diane Lyro have 5 sons and have always dreamt of extending their family. When their children had grown up and left home, the couple realized that they had more love to offer a child in need. They decided to add a daughter to the family after 4 of their 5 sons had grown up and moved out. After some thinking, they decided to open their home to a child less fortunate. But when they attended an adoption event, their lives would be forever changed because of one decision they made, based on a single photograph. Bernie and Diane Lyro began to work with a local adoption agency, and not long after that, they attended an adoption event to meet potential adoptive children. Although there were many children there, Diane couldn't tear herself away from a black and white photo of a girl who was unable to attend. "I just feel drawn to her," Diane says. The couple asked about the girl, but the adoption agency gave them a warning. Caseworkers wouldn't greet Diane's curiosity about the girl in a way she would have anticipated. All they would say was, "You definitely don't want her," remembers Bernie. Eventually, one of the ladies told my wife, "There's something wrong with her. That girl isn't suitable for adoption," Bernie says. Despite the warnings, the couple persisted. Seeking answers, the couple sought out the girl's social worker. The social worker told them a story that broke Bernie and Diane's hearts. That's when they learned the horrific truth about the unimaginable neglect the young girl had suffered. They discovered that the little girl had grown up in an unthinkable condition. Danielle Crockett was known to many as the girl in the window. In 2005, the police had received a call from a worried neighbor. The neighbor told them that there was something strange and terrible going on in the house next door. She had seen a thin, pale face that she didn't recognize staring out of the window. Investigator Mark Holst and his partner arrived at the scene. What they found would haunt them for years to come. "It was the most outrageous case of neglect I've ever seen," explains Holst. "It sounded like you were walking on eggshells. You couldn't take a step without crunching German cockroaches." Holst found Danielle abandoned at the back of the house on a soiled mattress. Her room was the size of a wardrobe and filled with filthy diapers. Years of neglect and appalling living conditions had severely damaged the 6-year-old girl. Danielle couldn't talk or eat solid foods. She was covered in lice and fleas. She weighed 46 pounds even when Mark Holst found her. "Around 85% of our brains develop within the first 5 years of our lives," explains psychologist Kathleen Armstrong, who examined Danielle. The girl had the mental capacity of a baby, despite the fact that she was nearly 7 years old. The doctors called her conditions environmental autism. Because she had been deprived of human contact for such a long time, she had simply withdrawn into herself and never learned to interact with anyone. When Bernie and Diane Lyro read all of this in her reports, they were heartbroken. But it still felt like Danielle was meant to be part of their family. And so they adopted her, took her in, and began the difficult process of attempting to raise such a damaged child. Danielle had meltdowns 7 to 8 times a day and hated going outside. She screamed until her lungs hurt, and she threw herself on the floor, her adopted parents explained in an interview in 2009. Food was also still a sensitive area for Danielle. She would eat until she was sick because she hadn't learned to control her eating after starving for the first 6 years of her life. But Diane and Bernie still loved her as their own. However, over time, Danielle made significant progress. Things that may seem trivial, such as brushing her teeth, washing her hands, and going to the bathroom by herself, were monumental breakthroughs for Danielle. She did it all thanks to the Lyro family's support and encouragement. Speech is still a challenging area for Danielle, but she normally greets Bernie with a "Hey Dad," and even said "I love you" to her parents. After the terrible treatment she endured at the hands of her biological mother, Danielle is extra cautious around women and mother figures. It has taken a long time for her to be able to socialize with others, but it's getting better. After Danielle's success so far, the family can see a bright future for her and have high hopes for what she can achieve. Danielle's story is heartbreaking in many ways, at least in its inception, but it warms the heart to learn that she was able to find such a loving and caring family to raise her. The conditions she found herself in during her early childhood were completely inexcusable and seemingly irreparably damaged her in many ways, but she's growing and learning more every day, and thanks to the love, care, and determination of her foster family. Thanks for watching. Tap one of the 2 videos on the screen for another amazing story.